Hey there everybody, JJ here, and today we're going to be talking about box plots, candlesticks, and waterfalls. So we got box plots, candlesticks, and waterfalls. Here is some examples because I don't just tell you what to do, I show you why you should be doing this. So let's talk through why these three charts that are new have the highest lift for your team to implement. So before in Looker Studio, we used to not really care about prepping your data. You connect to GA4, Google Sheets, whatever, and you just visualize it, you'd summarize things. You could do whatever you wanted to really within reason. These charts integrate now and allow you to have to think more about how the data that you're connecting to these charts actually looks underlying it. So I'm going to give you some queries, show you how it works, all that jazz. But first, if you have not yet, download the cheat sheet over on lookerstudio.vip/YouTube. You can grab this cheat sheet, but beyond the cheat sheet, which is great, by the way, is you get to hit the Looker Studio newsletter, which goes out every single Thursday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, if you're really going to be a stickler about it. It's a tip, a trick, idea that I share every single week. So just go join that. It's a great time all around, would recommend. So let's hop into this now, folks. All right, so how do you make a box chart? Well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start from scratch. We're going to build a new page, and we are going to start connecting things from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a data source that everyone might have access to. So here I'm going to go in here. We're going to collect to a GA4 native connector, which is just the GA4 live connector inside of Looker Studio. So if you go to add data, that's where it is. We're connected to our Better Than Data account, betterthandata.com, shameless plug. Go check us out there. And here's what you'd see normally. We've got views, we've got sessions, we've got everything else. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop on up here and we're gonna turn this into a box plot chart. All right, so box plots are unique. You might be asking yourself, hey JJ, what's a box plot? And today we are going to show you what that looks like. So let me look at the last 7 days, and we're going to drop in, we have views, sessions, active users, first day users, and 7-day active users. So we don't really care about what any of these do, all right, because it doesn't matter. In general, a box plot is used to show the difference in values over a particular period. So what that means is that here, this highest part here is meant to be the max value for this date range. So here, on our previous example, let me just show you what this looks like, is you would see this high value right here is the max value. 662 sessions is the most sessions we've had on this day. The min value is 106. So that's the smallest number of sessions we've had on this week. So this is a week, sorry, not a day. The week of July 2nd. And then we have the mean, which is the average in the middle, 337, so the average number of users per day. Then we have the first quartile, so like the standard deviation, 1 to the left, and the max quartile there. So over this week, here is the outlier, and we sustained quite a bit of volume, but then now you can quickly see at a glance how those change over time. Luckily for us, we are growing in traffic, ta-da, there we go. And that is how you can do that. So you have min, mean, max, first quartile, and third quartile. How do you do this, right? That's the question that we have under, like, how do you even do this? Because if I go back to our other example here, this will pull in different values. We got views, we got sessions, we got active users. Let's just try to make something of this. You could do it where like sessions, and then you might have views at the top, right? So we put views at the top, then we put sessions here, and then we put engaged sessions, which should be less. And then we put active users, which would even be less, and ta-da. So like this is like starting to look better, but still like you look at it and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because you're not using it for its intended use case. And I don't think it's even possible to use a default connector to do that. So how do we do that? We're gonna poppity pop over here into BigQuery, and I'm gonna show you something. So here we have a prep data set, which is already configured, and we have the date, in day, like so the day, and we have the number of sessions. So on this day, we had this many sessions. On this day, we had this many sessions. On this day, we had this many sessions. So you have to get your date, your format in a way that is broken down by a time that you would recommend. So for example, you could do hourly and then summarize it by day. Here we have daily, we're gonna summarize it by week. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna hop into the blog post that I just recently wrote on exactly how to do this. If you go over to learn or type in here box plot, if you just type in this box, it'll also show up. And I'm gonna grab this query. I'm gonna show you what this does, right? So here we have a query inside this blog post, which is /box-water, because why not? And here we have a query. So I'm gonna run it here. We're gonna open a query in a new tab. Bow. And we are gonna paste in that query. Actually, we're not gonna paste in that query. We're gonna paste the query in below this. We are then gonna comment this out, and we are going to grab this table. I'm gonna replace this table with where I need to put my table in, and it should just work. Sample query, there we go, bum bum. Okay, make sure that you are looking, this is not optimized for your data set, it's just a sample, so use at your own discretion. We have a very small data set, so here we go. I'm gonna hit run. And while it hits run, I'm gonna explain what it's doing. All right, so we have weekly data, which is summarizing the weekly data. We then have this date, which is basically turning the date that we have into the week. So it's giving us the first day of that week. We then have this, which is gonna give us a sessions array, right? So array aggregation from this sessions. And then what we're gonna do is we are gonna find the min value, which is this thing. So we have the start of the week, the min value, the approximate quartile. So this is gonna give us the first quartile, which is this offset feature, which is really cool because it returns 4 quartiles from that array, and then this is just the first value of that quartile. We then have the average, which is rounded to 2 decimal places, which is really helpful, and which is a mean. We then have the third quartile right here, which is the same query as above. We then have max, which is the maximum value here. We then are grabbing those and we are grouping them by the week and ordering them by the day, or the day of the week. So here's what we have. We now have that data set that we previously had over here, which is now turned into this, where you have the week, right? We have the min value, the first quartile value, the mean value, the third quartile, and the max, right? This was when we set up the actual site. So back then it did not make a difference, but now here we go. So here's the rest of it. So what you should do is write this as a scheduled query to append every single week. We're not going to do that because this is not a BigQuery course, but you would schedule this query, run weekly, etc., etc. That would be what you do. Append it, blah blah blah, etc., etc. We don't care. I'm going to copy this. We're going to hop over here. We're going to exit out of this bad boy. We're going to add a new data set. So we're going to click add data. We're going to hop into BigQuery. We are then going to drop into our custom query section. We are going to drop into this, and I'm going to paste that in there. So this is me a custom query. Do not do this. I would not recommend. Okay, but now that we've done it, here we go. So now I've just added this custom query, which is going to query every single time I load this report. I repeat, do not do this. Do not do this. If you are running an actual business on this, like what we do over at Media Authentic, do not do this at all. Okay, now that disclosures have been made, we are going to drop in a box plot chart. And let's see what happens. So here's our test quartile prep, which is that table. We then have the week start date as the date dimension. We have the dimension here. And then here we can order things how we'd like to. Min, first quartile. We then have the mean. We then have the third quartile, and we have the max. I think I did the opposite of what they're supposed to be. Max, min, third, first. We're then going to open this date range up, and let's look at the last 30 days, hit apply, see what happens. All right, so here's this week, which is not done yet, but then here's previous weeks, etc., etc. Let's look at, I don't know, a year or something like that. I believe that this is all of Looker Studio VIP data. One thing that you're going to want to remember here, folks, is that you want to keep this sorting by date. If you're doing it, what I'm doing, we're going to sort ascending. So then now the oldest date will be down here and the newest date is up here. We're then gonna, let's just look at this is the progression of these, I forget when the actual data started. I think this is Looker Studio VIP data. Yeah, there we go. So back in the day, there we are. And here you can see how that has trended, right, by week. So here is the week, October 16th. You can see that the most sessions that we had during that week was 167, probably when the newsletter goes out. And now we had this one when it popped off, the newsletter was popping over on this day, which is when usually the biggest peak of traffic was on that day right there. So now what you can do is you can go into style and you can change things, right? So here, let's pick on this, and then you can change what that looks like. So we're gonna make it green. You can add a fill color. Let's make it red because it's Christmassy. We can add a reference line here. So one thing that I really like to do is, like, if you wanted to add a reference line that is a constant value that is on the x-axis or x-axis. Why is it not the y-axis? All right, well, there you go. So now you can add a reference and say, hey, this is like our average weekly high goal, right? That could be a thing here. And now you have it on the chart. You've got a box plot ready to go. So now, just to recap, this is how you made a box plot. You can copy that query from the blog post. Let me just hop over there. Ta-da, here you go. And as long as you have a prepped data set with sessions and day, you can do this. You could run it theoretically off of the raw BigQuery export, but like, it's just easier to do it this way. Let me know. So there we go. So now you understand how the box plot works. Let's now talk through the other one, which is the box plot, and we got the next one, which is the candlestick chart. All right, candlestick is exactly the same thing without the mean. So here we have the max, the third quartile, the first quartile, and then the min. And ta-da, now it's the same exact thing. So I don't know why this changed this way. There we go. So now you can see it's the exact same data without the mean in the middle. So it looks a little bit different because there's no horizontal line. I don't know why you'd use one or the other. Honestly, I'm like letting you know right now. I feel like having the mean is always more helpful because then you can kind of see where that average sits. Obviously, this is some terrible color coordination, but you can get the gist of what's happening here. Over here, it's like, where's the average? The average up here is the average down here. Where do we go? But now you can do both with that simple query that I gave you inside of BigQuery. Again, don't do what I did as far as connecting it. We have a whole BigQuery course on that inside of Better Than Data. Not going to dive into it here, but you get the idea. Now we get to talk through the next one, which is the only waterfall chart. All right. So waterfall is interesting because theoretically, as long as you don't want the water to actually fall, you can use it with any data set. So what I mean by that is, let's hop in here to our setup table and let's use our GA4 merchant shop. Why not? We can have date and then let's put sessions in here because, you know, sessions are better than views in my personal opinion, hot take. And let's shorten up this date range to be a little bit smaller. So let's just go to, we're in August. Let's look at a couple months here. So we're in June, July, August, that's 3 months, give or take. So 3 months times weeks is like 12, it should be 12. All right, pro of BigQuery is that it's fast. All right, so we're waiting down here while we're waiting for this. All right, we're not gonna even wait for that. We're gonna go into the GA4 Better Than Data one because why is this not working? I don't know. We're gonna refresh. That's always my go-to inside of Looker Studio, hit refresh. People that give you perfect tutorials, I'm not sure how you guys do that. Hopefully you guys can watch this faster than I am for the live connector. Hey, there we go. Okie doke. So this is the waterfall chart. As you can see, no water is falling. We are going up and to the right, folks. This is what you want to see your stock market portfolio, 2008 to 2023. There you go, up and to the right. So what is this showing? So this is showing the number of sessions over time, and it's only increasing. So here we had a big jump. Here we did not have a big jump. So it's going up by this amount of value every single time you see these. There's no negatives. I did not have 3,750 sessions on this date on June 13th, right? We did not have that, right? So what is happening? Well, the waterfall looks at something unique. It only looks at the deltas between them unless you're looking at something like this. So if this is helpful to you, it's kind of just the same thing as a line chart that is looking at the cumulative data. So let me just try and do this without breaking it. So if you just, like, in my personal opinion, is this might be better suited if you're going to look at it like this as a actual time series chart and where it is cumulative. So if you didn't know, inside of this, you can always come over here and change it to cumulative, which I'm going to find. There we go. And so now this is a cumulative chart, very similar to that one. Again, slightly different because this one's looking at a bigger date range. We're looking at October. So let's just make this a little bit shorter. All right, I'll wait for GA4 again. So this is the same information on these two charts. All right, we're not waiting for GA4 anymore. That's going out the window. We don't care. We're gonna use the actual. So here is the same exact data displayed very differently. So again, choose which one you'd like to use. This is cumulative by day. You can just change this to be week. Let's look at year week. Alrighty, hit reset, hit the date range. Let's look at the last 30 days. All right, and there we go. So this is the same information. This is displayed over week. This is displayed also over week. As you can see, slightly different. All right, so this is, oh no, this is also day. So take with it with a grain of salt of what you're looking for. What I want to show you though is how to make something that looks like this, right? Where you have the ups and downs showing like this over time. So how you do that in general is you need to have a delta change difference. So this is an example of what that looks like, where you have on this day, we had 1,000. The next day there was 200 less. The next day there was 500 more. The next day there was 375 less, et cetera, and you can keep adding that up. So if you were to connect this into this table, so let's just connect here. We've got our waterfall data set. This is what that will look like. So now what you can do is you can come in here and you can put the net change as this and then the date here. And now you can see here, we started off going negative, we went to then positive, we went more than that, and you can change what that actually looks like for you. So in this case, you can say, hey, the rising chart is going to be green. Let's make it purple. Why not? Maybe the falling bars are green now. So now it's green, red, etc. So this is a way of doing that as well. The cool part about this is in the style tab, you can actually or setup tab, sorry. Let me hop in here. In the setup tab, you can actually display where you want the totals to be calculated. Do you want them at the end? So here's the total, 3,376. Or you could do it by month, which would then put the month here. So here, 1,000, then we're at 800, then we're at 1,300. This is like what stock markets would look at. Like, when did we end the month? How do we end the quarter, et cetera, et cetera. And the same thing goes for if you were to use the other data set. So say, for example, you wanted to have the actual GA4. Let's just look at these. So here we will use the dimension of date and the metric of sessions. So here, if we wanted to add in the breakdown of when we wanted to break it down, we could do here by month. And now you can see, hey, how many we have at this month, at the end of this month, at the end of this month, etc. But it will be cumulative as well. So that is how you can use this. You have to prep your data in either way. That's the moral of the story of this, folks, is you need to prep your data to have negatives or positive or quartiles, etc. This blog post that I'll reference right here, which is Looker Studio VIP /box-water, which is really, really helpful to be able to say, hey, what is the query? How does the query work, etc., etc. And then you can build from there. So let me know in the comments down below if this was helpful, if you'd like a specific use case, because you can use this for pretty much anything: stock market, crypto trading, GA4 tracking, revenue, annual revenue, average order value by month, etc. All of these can be applied to that. It's just give me some use cases in the comments down below, and maybe we'll build a follow-up video with queries and everything else that you need to prep that data. So without further ado, I'll see you in the next video. Like and subscribe if you have not already.